Welcome to Salcedo Paranormal. It is Sunday, August 14th, 2022, and tonight I'll be sharing true paranormal stories from the web. As always, you can find all the episodes of the podcast along with links to social media, ways to donate, and ways to contact me at the podcast page, which is salcedoparanormal.podbean.com. That's SALSIDO paranormal.podbean.com. Always happy to hear from everyone, whether you have comments or questions, or topic suggestions for shows, or if you have stories of paranormal experiences, whether they're your own or from others that you trust. Happy to either read them on the show or have you join me on the show to talk about them. And we can arrange that show to be whenever is needed for you. And I think that takes care of that. So Wednesday will be another book review, I'm guessing, at this point. And then Friday will be more true paranormal news. So that's the plan for this next week or so. Then, of course, next Sunday, I'll get back to true paranormal stories from the web. So, I think that covers everything. And I guess in a moment here, I will get going. Just have to get to the file, and then I can start. So, let's see here. Just checking on something. Okay. Alright, so let me get to this first story here. And this one says, as a child growing up in the backwoods of Maine, I've heard my fair share of strange things in the night. Typically, it'll be coyotes hunting, or the prowl of another nocturnal creature. As a child, I was never particularly afraid of the dark, but I knew dangers lurked in the absence of light. So at night, I played indoors. During the day, however, there were never any restrictions. On one summer afternoon, I was riding my bike down the street that branched off from my dead-end road. Our only neighbors were a relative and a couple of decent folk just down the way. Otherwise, quiet, serene woods. I would make this ride quite often, as there was no town, but this stretch was fun to ride because I could pedal my heart out without having to slow down in order to veer. On this day, I made my normal round up the road, only to turn around and head back. I had an uneasy feeling on the ride up, which was the only abnormality. I felt like I was being watched. Something told me to look towards the woods on my right, and I did so, reluctantly. Deep in the woods, amongst the pines, I saw a black, almost liquid thing peer out from behind a tree. My heart dropped. I took off pedaling as fast as my feet would take me, keeping a steady eye on the woods to my right. This thing kept pace effortlessly, darting from tree to tree like a primordial ooze. It was either playing or stalking prey. I wasn't about to stop and find out. Pedaling so hard, I thought my chain would snap. I knew my uncle's house was approaching on the left. I spun out in the dirt, ditched the bike, and ran to his door, frantically knocking. I turned around to see if whatever it was would be making its way towards me. I didn't see anything. My uncle opened the door asking me what's wrong. I explained to him what I saw. He grabbed a rifle and said, "Probably just a bear," with slight concern in his voice. "I've never seen a bear move like that," I said out of breath. "Yep, they'll do that," he said, as he peered through the blinds. To this day, I don't know what I saw, but something tells me my uncle sure did. It's been 20 years, and I've since lost contact with my uncle. Maybe someday I'll reach out and ask. That's the end of the story. Really amazing sighting there. Of course, who knows what it was. The fact that it seemed to be liquid is really amazing in a way. You hear that once in a while, but not all the time. And but neat story there. I'm glad nothing major happened. Besides that, apparently, so that's good. So I'll move on to the next story here. Let's see here. Gotta find it. Okay. This one says, as a child growing up in... Oops, that's weird. Looks like I copied and pasted the same thing. That's weird. Let me just... Give me 1 second here. Let's see here. One moment. I'm just scrolling through to get to the next one. I don't know what happened there. We may have only 5 stories tonight instead of 6, unfortunately. This one says, when I was 7 or 8 years old, I'm a 20-year-old female, I was getting ready for bed around 10 p.m. and decided to leave my bedroom to use the bathroom one last time. I have a room on the 2nd floor of our house, and I share a bathroom with my parents. My mom was in the shower. Since I couldn't use my parents' bathroom, I walked downstairs to use the 1st floor bathroom. My dad was still awake, sitting on the couch and watching TV. I was making my way down a long hall, and I noticed a black, misty figure at the very end of it. It was floating out of our front door. The door was closed, so it went through the door. It almost looked like it had some sort of hood or hat on, and it had somewhat of a humanoid figure. In a way, it reminded me of the Grim Reaper. It didn't bother me, and I was just in awe when I saw this thing. I guess it's a good thing it was leaving. Why was it in my home in the first place? What could have caused it to leave? And why did it want me to know it was leaving? So that's the end of that story. Another sighting there of something. Seems to be a shadow figure. Possibly a figure with a hood or a hat. Possibly, maybe some kind of version, whatever it is, of a Grim Reaper. So, neat story there. Let's see here. I think this is going to be a short episode today. I apologize for that. This says... wait, lost my spot. Okay, so this one says... A couple of months ago, while I sat in a car wash, my music stopped, which occurs when a call is coming through. I looked at the media system to see who was ringing. It said, "Ma'am." M-A-M. I went to answer. Nobody there, and the call ended. "Ma'am," in quotation marks, is not common here. but it is what I called my mom and how she signed birthday cards. She was never ever stored in my phone as ma'am. It was always under dad, and still is. They only had a landline. So, no missed or received calls on my phone log at that time. I shrugged it off as perhaps stress. Except yesterday, it happened again. When I was driving, my husband was in the passenger seat and saw it with his own eyes. It occurred 3 times. The first time the line was open for at least a minute, but nobody spoke. Second time a bit shorter, and the third time mere seconds. My husband is a complete skeptic, but can't explain this, and neither can I. I did think spoofed number, but again, there's no record of the calls, like they never happened. Ma'am died 3 years ago. Thoughts? What do I do? And that's where that story ends. Phone calls are always tricky in a way because technical issues can make things happen. But at the same time, it's electronics, it's energy, so who's to say that spirits can't manipulate the energy in those devices, or other beings, or whoever it is. And again, I find it also amazing that there was the caller ID basically in the vehicle used a name that the writer did not have listed as a contact. It was dad, not ma'am, their mom. So neat story there. And I always like finding those electronic stories. As long as they're not super negative, I don't mind sharing them. So, let's go on to the next story here. Let's see here. It's not working. I don't think. There we go. Okay. Let's see here. Okay, yeah, so here we go. This one says, and again, I think a couple of these here are from the UK. This one says, years back, my Nan and I were just sitting there watching TV when we heard a really loud bang above us. We went up to look and found my wardrobe had fallen onto my bed. It didn't just fall though. It moved about 2 feet forward, then turned sideways and fell down onto my bed. My Nan decided to smash it up and chuck it out in the garden for my granddad to remove because she didn't want to take any chances of it happening again. No idea how or why it happened, but I'm glad I wasn't in bed because it would have bloody hurt. That's the end of that story, and it's funny, the other day I was talking with a few people about this in a voice chat. I think Derek was one of them. He's one of the people that joins me on my show sometimes. And this idea of objects possibly being haunted by energies or even consciousness that can make things happen. And I do think that it can happen. I do think that is if you look into these stories enough, you'll find other stories, similar stories. So, but as I was saying in the voice chat the other night, I don't think that you have to worry about buying items or exchanging or whatever, salvaging items to take home unless you get a weird feeling from the object. In that case, I would definitely consider just leaving it. But amazing story there, and again ties into just so many things there. So, this will be the last story. I don't know how I managed to paste the same story twice in the beginning. But anyway, this one says, disclaimer. I am not a believer, but I have had 2 experiences which make me stop and think. This is the first. During my early 20s, I worked security for a few years. A construction company had contracted the company I worked for. It was our job to provide 24/7 on-site security for a closed-down building, formerly an insane asylum. The construction company was tasked to upgrade it to reopen it for a newly refurbished psych ward. They had a monitor room set up inside the building where we sat while not patrolling the grounds. It covered the entirety of the building's exterior. I got used to weird things happening. I could most of the time explain them away. On Christmas Eve, around 2 a.m., I was patrolling the exterior of the building when off in the distance, I saw someone walk up the stairs onto a landing. I called out and then looked back. They looked back at me and continued going up the stairs. By the time I got, excuse me, I lost a pause. Okay, there we go. By the time I got from where I was across to up to the stairs, they were gone. No one to be seen. But I have never felt more uncomfortable in my entire life standing on that landing. I felt like 100 pairs of eyes were piercing my body. It almost physically hurt. I quickly finished my exterior patrol. I went back to the monitor room and checked out the tape. Nobody was ever there. I saw this person turn and look at me while I was out there. So why was there never anyone else besides me on that camera? I refused to go back there again after that night. And that's the end of the story. Really amazing. Those kind of places, I do think any kind of medical facility, they seem to contain energy from whenever they were in operation. Even after they're closed down, it seems like it's a fairly common thing to happen. So, having that security guard see something and then go back and watch that area on the security footage and then not see anything, that really is neat. I wonder, again, how that works. Don't know. Maybe some kind of projection from the individual there to the writer of the article of this story. Maybe just it was a certain kind of energy or a certain amount of energy that the writer could see, but the cameras couldn't. Seems like that can alternate. Sometimes people will see things and the cameras won't. Other times people won't see things and the cameras will. So who knows how all that works. But yeah, neat story. And unfortunately, that is it for today. This was a shorter episode. So I apologize for that. But hopefully you all enjoyed the stories. And I'll be back on Wednesday with a book review. Of course, connected to the paranormal. and thinking I'll probably finish the review of the last book in the Dark Tower series. And so that'll be that. Thank you all for listening, and I will talk to you all on the next episode of Salcedo Paranormal.